return and then.
Yes. Good evening to everyone, and welcome to our Monday program, Real Talk with the Political Leader, to the Honorable Dr. Thomson Fontaine, Political Leader of the United Workers' Party Team Dominica. Today is Monday, the 14th of October, 2025, which takes us to the 9th edition, Doc. I mean, we are moving. We are
Yes.
moving with quick speed, yeah, lightning speed. you know, Doc, and as usual, we welcome everyone. We can be viewed or we can be reached at uwp-dominica.com. That's the party's Facebook page. UWP Team Dominica, party's YouTube channel, and Push Past 10 Media. And we are asking everyone to join us tonight, as usual, Monday. And we expect you to participate and to have a very interactive program tonight, as usual. This is not about just us informing you, but it's about you participating and asking your questions and getting the appropriate responses where applicable. So, Doc, as usual, we have been, let me just tell you, when you gave a synopsis of the weather last week, and it was approximately, when you say we'll start getting intermittent showers by about 3 o'clock, I was about my business in the Kinfield area when it was about 1 minute to 3, when a heavy shower struck, it came down heavily. For a few minutes, obviously, because you said it will be sporadic in a sense, it will be coming and going and so. And I said, wow, that weatherman is not nothing easy. However, we had a lull with respect to the rain we coming, but we're coming back to the same area. But what I do understand is that other person was saying that while this should may not have been raining in one particular area, but they felt, rainfall in some parts of Dominica. So what is happening now? Because, rest assured, we were spared. So what is happening right now? What can you tell us about this?
We really have to give thanks because Jerry we could have been talking differently tonight. But we're very thankful that, it really moved away from us and went further north. And for the most part, we were spared. Even the rain that was predicted was not in the same quantities because the Jerry was not able to develop as it should have because we had some really strong winds there, what we call the wind shear around the islands. So that really defeated or prevented the formation of Jerry in any significant degree, and that helped us. So that was good. Now we have another system in the mid-Atlantic, tropical storm Lorenzo. So we're already down to L. Between Jerry, we had Karen. Karen was way up in the northern Atlantic, no impact. And then we had Lorenzo forming yesterday. The good thing about tropical storm Lorenzo, although it's in the middle Atlantic, it almost immediately began curving away from us, from the islands. So it's going to go up into the northern Atlantic. It poses absolutely no threat to us. However, and that's something for us to watch. A tropical wave is moving off the coast of Africa, or moved off the coast of Africa last night. And all of the weather forecasts are showing that this wave is going to come all the way across. It's going to travel due west. So it means that it is on a collision track with the islands of the Lesser Antilles, from Barbados all the way up to Guadeloupe. And two major questions now at this early stage is whether or not it will remain at a tropical storm, and it is going to be Melissa when it is formed. So you're going to have tropical storm Melissa sometime next week Monday, in approximately 1 week's time. So we're talking about next week Monday, and the forecasts are, all of the forecasters agree. So far, the models I have seen, all of them agree that it will approach the islands. It is not going to turn away like Jerry did and Erin and the other storms we had earlier this year. It is going to come across the islands because it's going to cross over to the Caribbean Sea. The question that the models are not in agreement with is whether it becomes a hurricane before or after the islands. And so that is something we have to look at. But they're saying at this very early stage, some of the forecasters are saying that it will be at least a rain event. If not worst, it will be a rain event. So that's something for us to look out for. October 20th is when it is being predicted that we'll have some weather around the islands.
Wow, I heard tropical storm Melissa.
Possibly
Well,
tropical
what I
storm
know.
Melissa.
So yeah,
do,
you
you, do
what?
you
You
know
what?
any
Because
Melissas?
no, I'm concerned because even in Roseau Central as we speak, without a storm, we have no health center. We have had no health center in Roseau proper for a few years now. Now I'm seeing them trying to cut grass around the health center without a storm, yeah. So if we get tropical storm Melissa, I don't know what's going to happen because without a storm, we do not have a health center in Roseau. Without a storm, we do not have lights at the Windsor Park. And without a storm, the drains in Roseau and the sidewalks are not fixed. The roads are in a bad state, and Roseau just cannot be the envy of the Caribbean. So that is without storm. So if we get storm Melissa or Hurricane Melissa, I don't want to see the state of Roseau and Dominica. But we pray that all these things will be washed out in the Atlantic because even without a storm, we can see the effects of a declining state far less if we have a storm. But I'm also hearing too, though, that the RSS may have ended up their mission. I don't know, it was a short stunt, it looked like, or stint, if you want to say so. And the last report I heard, though, it was 5 guns they got. I know they had a canine dog in St. Lucia, which met it death in one of the police stations in St. Lucia. And it was a sad burial for that dog. It did a lot of discoveries with a lot of guns. So canine 4, canine 4, canine, 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 canine did better. The canine dog did better than the Amaris says it looked like. That is St. Lucia, but unfortunately, canine
Yeah.
met it deaf. So what are you saying? Are you hearing this about the RSS? Are they
Well,
leaving?
well, my understanding is that they're scheduled to leave. They were asked to stay for an extra 2 or 3 days. And but what I've been hearing is a lot of anecdotal things from different people. I met one gentleman who met me in town who was very irate. He says they seem to be just, breaking down doors without search warrants and so on. Or that I cannot verify, but
Wow.
that's what the gentleman was complaining about. He says that the RSS was taking liberties, or actually against some civil liberties, because they seem to have been coming into buildings and other areas without any kind of warrants, and he was not very happy with their action. So we are waiting to hear from the government. We expect the government to give a report to the Dominican public about what exactly they accomplished, what their mission was, and what it is going forward, how that intervention would have helped the country to either improve itself with regards to crime, or just to make it a safer place to be, even as we go into the very festive season. And we're expecting thousands of Dominicans to be, and other visitors, of course, from the neighboring French Islands and elsewhere, to be in Dominica. So, it's very important that we get some kind of assurance with respect to the security situation here in Dominica.
Yes, but I was just wondering too, though, while the RSS were here, I was just trying to understand whether or not they were under the command of the Regional Security Service System or whether they were under the command of our police force, because now that they would have been in a new jurisdiction, it appears that maybe they would be under the supervision of the police force. But that the government must clear for us, because if a such thing happened where they would go to homes without warrant, it means that would supersede what our law requires when you come to set somebody home. So I hope that can be clarified.
Yes, I trust that all of those issues will in fact be clarified. It's not clear, where the orders were coming from. Who It's certainly not clear to me, and not much information has been forthcoming. So we hope all of those issues will be clarified, including, of course, what success there was and what the whole intent was to bring in the security services into Dominica. Because you would also realize also in listening to different people talk, that there was a lot of concern as to why Dominica, because a lot of people felt that the crime situation, although it's getting worse in Dominica, is nowhere close to what we see in St. Lucia and other countries around us, St. Vincent, for example. And these countries, they seem able to rely upon their police services. And the question was why it is that in Dominica we have to rely on the RSS to provide that kind of police work. So that these are all important questions that I think the public has a right get answers for from this government.
Right, yeah. So we hope so going forward, and but we're getting straight into our topic because as for those who are tuning in now, and for the benefit of our listeners, we are tuned in to Real Talk with our political leader, Dr. Thomson Fontaine from United Workers Party Team Dominica. Last week we explored or we looked at matters concerning high utility rates and obviously and the impact that these have on the ordinary man, and also recommendations and solutions were sorted, were given for an improved situation, because we don't only talk about things, but from time to time we give recommendation, and obviously we often, give solutions to some of the problems that we encounter. Tonight we will be looking at youth empowerment and retention for a better Dominica, but particularly as it relates to our 10 pillar plan, where we're talking about youth empowerment and talking about retention of our young people because it is very important. But as usual, when we're about to start with, I will just give a little preamble as to where we are guided to at least start the discussion. And just for the benefit of those who are listening, I just want to dock in the interest of what we're going to talk about, um, youth empowerment, and this is in the growth and protection strategy document that came up some time ago, maybe 2012 thereabout. And you know what the government had to say in this document with respect to youth empowerment. Um, the mission of the National Youth Policy is to create a framework that will ensure that young men and women in Dominica grow up with a sense of belonging and worth, and are empowered to participate fully in the social and economic development of the nation. The National Youth Policy is a framework for youth development in the Commonwealth of Dominica. It seeks to ensure that all young persons are given equal opportunity to reach their full potential. The National Youth Policy addresses the major concerns and issues critical to young men and women. The policy provides guidelines for development of youth programs and initiatives by government and non-government organizations. And I believe one of the goals and objectives, just bring it on the surface before we ask you your first question, it says that to develop a holistic response to challenges that young men and women face in endeavoring to develop their potential. But Doc, we have seen over the years that the government has been talking about youth empowerment. And every time you engage the youth, you hear people talk about they are fed up, they are frustrated, they don't feel empowered, they don't feel the value and their worth. And since you have come up with this 10 pillar plan, where one of such plan is to look at how is it that youth can be empowered and how it is that we are going to retain youth, because there must be a way to empower them and to have them retain the year so that they can actually put good meaning into development of Dominica. Now, what is your take on all what I've said? Because I read something about youth, youth, the national youth policy that seemed to be striking about making it better for youth. Are you getting that sense in your interaction on a daily basis, wherever you meet them in church, at funerals, on the streets, in their communities? Are you getting this sense?
So it has been it is a big divide between a government youth policy and what actually exists on the ground. It is clear. You see in Dominica today, youth that have generally been marginalized. You see that our young people are probably not as engaged as they should be. We see that our young people are not taken seriously with respect to nation building and the development of this country. So what we have is a government policy that here is on paper, but in reality, the young people feel that they're not part of what is going on in this country. To begin with, this tremendous struggle just to be able to get something to do in Dominica. By that I mean the ability to secure a good paying job, the ability to feel a sense of worth that they're contributing positively towards society. That is gone. Our youth, their dreams have been taken away from them. And so one of our major concerns that we have within the United Workers Party Team Dominica is how we can address this problem. It is a problem. I put it in terms of a problem. How do we, how can we encourage our young people, one, to stay in Dominica, and secondly, if they have to travel overseas for study, or if they're overseas now because they have to run away from the pressures in Dominica, to get them to come back to Dominica. Because we believe that the very lifeblood of any country is its young people. A country breathes, a country thrives on the vitality of its youth. And that vitality is gone for Dominican youth under this Labour Party regime. Right. So yes, the government has a policy, but if you talk to the people, the young people, it's one of despair, it's one of hopelessness even, and because we simply do not have the opportunities here in this country for young people, and that to me is very, very lamentable.
Yes, thanks for this intro. But, it's important because I know the figures have not changed yet. Some document I read, and the statistics show there is at least 50%. There are 50% unemployment among youth, and it's very alarming. And we have not seen any sustainable program with respect by the government with respect to directing a youth policy with respect to sustaining their jobs and to have them, earn the kind of standard of living or quality of life that they so deserve. And Doc, I know that we have been, as a team, United Workers Team Dominica, with your leadership, we have been pushing the 10-point plan, and youth empowerment is one of such plan that you really taken serious to get youth empowered. What are some of the things you believe that would actually spur that sort of motivation and inspire youth to get on board? Because by and large, when you interact with youth, all about it. I mean, today, I had the ability to speak to some young persons, and it's like they want to leave. They want to leave.
Yeah, that's the overriding thing. How can we get out of Dominica as quickly as possible?
Yes. So, what are some of the things we believe with respect to the youth empowerment that this 10-point plan or one of the 10-point plan can actually strike to actually the young people who are listening can actually get encouraged and motivated to at least give it a one more try and await the United Workers Party, Team Dominica, to govern this country so that they stand a chance to at least see some improvement in their lives.
Okay, so what we're offering to the young people of this country is an opportunity to find work, but not only work, but to find employment opportunities that is linked with well or good paying jobs. Okay, so that's number one, and that's very important because you want, as a young people, as a young person, you want to know that after you've gone through, especially if you've gone through the school process, you've gone through high school, you've gone through the state college, you want to know that there is something substantive that you can do, and in the process help to develop your country, but also be able to look forward to building a family, or moving on in life. And so that is something that we are absolutely committed to. And by focusing on job creation, we believe that will provide those opportunities for young people. Now, one of the areas that the young persons have been employed with under this Labour Party government has been in the call center business, and we know that is now completely gone. The call center that was in Canefield is operating, I believe, at a skeleton staff. A lot of the young people have been let go. And these are young persons who have found other opportunities. Some of them, luckily, have found opportunities, but those opportunities are not in Dominica. They are working, they have moved overseas, they have gone to St. Kitts, they have gone to Antigua, they have left Dominica altogether. And so being able to provide good paying jobs for our young people is of necessary importance. That to me is probably the single most important thing. How do we create jobs within this country that will allow our young people to work, that will allow the dream of being able to earn, the dream of being able to do things as a young person? How do we capture their imagination? How do we capture those dreams? And so being able to do that is vitally important. And our plans that we've discussed and we'll be discussing to grow the agriculture sector, to grow, in particular the services sector, because we believe that there are lots of opportunities for the young people in services, and not only within the services sector, but also within the IT sector. We believe that this is a growing area. Artificial intelligence. You can find employment opportunities online. We have engaged the services of a very competent expert in that area. And we have been actively looking, even now, whilst in opposition, we have started the process of already looking to see what types of businesses we can attract into Dominica. So we are not sleeping on this. We know that the opportunities are there. In fact, one of our main areas of focus at this conference we had last year, the economic conference, was to look at this knowledge industry, how we can engage in that sector. Because what this sector allows for is individuals to remain in Dominica and find employment with companies overseas. All right. Those opportunities exist now. The world is changing. The world is, by far and large, employment opportunities are now driven through technology. And this technology allows you to remain in your country and offer your service to businesses in the United States, in Europe, and elsewhere. And so we are very much focused on that aspect of it. Even now, even as I speak to you tonight, we have been engaged, as I said, with an expert in that area. Himself, that particular individual is Dominican, but he is working in that area, and he knows some of the opportunities that are there. And we have actually asked him specifically to go out there and find for us what opportunities can be created. So we've already started thinking about how we can bring in jobs in the IT sector to our people. Because what to me is very attractive about the IT sector is that it encourages imagination, it encourages creativity, all of the ingredients that our young people possess, but which they're not able to utilize because they do not have the opportunities. And so, it's a very exciting time, and I believe that is something that as we focus on, as we work to develop, that we may even be able, even before we assume the reins of government, we are hopeful that we'll be able to already introduce some of those opportunities to our Dominican public. So it's a very exciting time, and one I believe that will make it possible for young people to find opportunity. I cannot stress enough how the way you keep your people in the country is by creating jobs, but good paying jobs. And we see the IT sector as one of those avenues where they'll be able to work. Another critical area that we believe we can create opportunities for young people is as we develop the agriculture sector, as we develop the manufacturing sector, there will be jobs in advertising, in marketing, in accounting, in different aspects that our young people can actually add value to our products. And so that's another exciting area that we're looking at, because you would have young people, for example, being able to set up their own companies that can offer accounting services, can offer advertising and marketing services to companies as they get established in Dominica. So we are looking for ways that we can creatively employ our young people in a very strategic manner that will help us grow the economy, because we'll be supporting our various pillars: agriculture, manufacturing, the water industries, and so on. And so these are areas that we just want to impress upon the young people, that we are thinking of them, that we are tired. And I mean, I don't know, so you live in town and you're a resident of Roseau, the broader Roseau area. But in Grand Fort, where I live, and on a daily basis, encountering the young people, you're talking about 18, 17, 20-year-olds. These guys have never worked in their lives. They've never been able to secure a paycheck. Yet they are young, they are vibrant, they're eager to work, but the opportunities simply are not there. I recently had a group of young boys approach me and said, just help us do anything. Anything. We just want to do something. We want to work. Help us create those opportunities. It's an opportunity for us to focus on our young people, because the need is there. I mean, we're losing our young people in numbers and in ways, because if they are not able to secure good paying jobs, then the other area, the dark side of life, where the number of drugs and the other thing else becomes very enticing. Because at the end of the day, you want to know that you want to have a feeling of self-worth, that you can earn some money, that you can contribute towards society. And if that is taken away from you, you find alternatives. And so the focus for us, I cannot repeat that enough. So this focus for us in the United Workers Party Team Dominica is to create those opportunities for our young people, because we have the firm belief that what is going on now is not enough. Not enough effort has been placed by this government in creating those opportunities, in creating employment. And so a good part of our time is being spent on exploring. I wish I could offer even tonight to say, yes, we have succeeded in that particular area. We are not there as yet, but we are working on it. We are working to create those opportunities. We are employing individuals who have the expertise in those areas, who can help guide us. We are setting up the policy that will help frame this area. And so it's an exciting time. My hope is that in a few months' time, we'll be able to have some concrete results to point to and say, here, we have created this opportunity, we have created this other opportunity. We are getting to that point. We're not there as yet, but it's a very exciting time for us.
Yes, and I just have somebody who just a young person who texts me there, and I read. Well, I'm a young person listening to this program, and I would just like to ask Dr. Thomson Fontaine how possible it is that they could have introduced agricultural field schools so that young people can be attached or be sent or deployed at various, farm enterprise, so that they can have hands-on practical experience, to learn and probably get a sense of actually directing their own path with respect to developing their business. That's just one. Another one saying, look, I mean, a lot of young persons may be in prison, maybe not their fault. I mean, some of them may have done crime that at least they should be, at least they are convicted for it, but it doesn't mean that that's the end of the world. How far too many of our young people in prison, what kind of programs that would be necessary even while they are at prison to get their mindset focused, so that when they are introduced back into the society, that they can at least have some sense of direction in terms of a positive mindset. So these are two questions for, and I will read one from we'll take this one after from our one of our participants. I mean, Mr. Nep Packet. I'll take that after. But these two questions which were posed by the young people, I think I would like you to focus on it.
Yes, so yeah, I was hoping we'd have dealt with net, and then we'll go into that, because the question that was raised has to do with the young people who are falling off, if you like, fall off our
Okay, so I
society.
should read it. Let me read
and
it.
and we see them on the streets of Roseau, we see them in the mental institutions, we see them in the prisons, and the question is, what can we do about that? That is something that I want to address, but let's address it towards the end, because that's very important. But I wanted to talk to that particular issue, since it fits very closely with what we're talking about, creating those opportunities. And
Okay.
once we've dealt with that, then we can talk to some of those other issues having to do with our youth, and they've been, they're going astray.
Okay. So here's what the participant has to say there. Innovation challenges with guaranteed pilots. What is it there? Yeah. I hope I'm getting it right. Let me say that. Yes.
Yes, you're
Yeah,
right. So
innovation challenges with guaranteed pilots. Imagine this: a student from Dominica State College wins a challenge to create a low-cost hydroponic farming kit. The government funds a pilot, a local investor scales it, and now small farmers across the island are producing year-round crops with less water. That's youth opportunity, agriculture, renewable energy, and economic empowerment, all in one, a one-stop shop. This is one creative way that we can get the youth to stay here, work here, and build the count. Do you agree?
you know why I like that a lot, so because even today I was asking someone, have you seen local tomatoes around?
No.
And I'm wondering, but why are we not growing tomatoes year round in Dominica? We have the weather for it. Why is it that we are not growing tomatoes year round? And I'm told that there may be some in the stores, but they're imported out of Dominica. So this particular option that NEP is talking about is where you actually allow the creativity of the young people to flourish. So you give them a challenge, that challenge in the form of a small model. You get the business people now to help them, or you get the funding through some funding scheme to fund that project so that other people can take it on board. And before you know it, it is spread across the country. So you have young people with their own businesses creating wealth. And that's what this is all about. And so I like this very much. That's one way in which it can be done, where government funds those challenges and establishes them as the way forward. Other people come on board, and so it spreads. And so that's a very useful and important example that has been given there, and it's something that we can certainly look at as we plan forward, because that's what this is all about. So it's about planning forward. It's about ensuring that we create those opportunities that are so vital for young people. And these opportunities that can be found in agriculture and using renewable energy, using what we have. We talked last, I think 2 sessions ago, we talked about the renewable energy sector and how impactful and powerful that particular sector can be in terms of revolutionizing the cost of doing business in Dominica and how we can explore that. So there are different things that can be done. But I think at the end of the day, it's allowing our young people to grab onto those opportunities so that they can improve their lives and help to create some wealth for themselves and their families.
Well, yeah, and I agree because that seasonality thing about agriculture development should be out of the window. It's year round. We should be able to have agriculture year round in respect to even vegetable production, short-term crops, and so. And it's a fact. All we have to do is to ensure that we have water availability and access to that water, and therefore we can do it. I mean, even in the drought season, we can address our water deficits with these things and so. But I like this point that this participant raised, because just the other day we were talking about how young people can get into agriculture, and even now as we speak, most of our farming areas or rural communities are away from our domestic homes, and you call it some not really remote, but if they're far apart from your home, it means that electricity may not be able to reach into somebody's farms. And right away there, you don't talk about I'm going to talk about fossil fuel use or diesel powered energy. Right away there, solar energy can become useful so that farmers can use their chainsaws, they can charge their phones, they can charge their chainsaws, they can have refrigeration, or they could have refrigerators on with that. And a wide range of appliances can be used on the farm so that when they slaughter the animals, they can cool it. When they get their vegetables, they can chill it on. So that is where we are going with this. So I like the whole idea of the hydroponics. And by the way, that is actually water nutrient based operation so that you could continue production, not necessarily using soil as a medium. So these are creative ways to get it done. And look, as we're on this though, I remember the United Workers Party in its time in government was actually looking at a replacement for those traditional heads, because we recognize that obviously our farmers are getting old. Most of our farmers are getting old and they would have to move on. And so what we wanted to do is to actually have a cadre of young persons taking over. And so the success stories would have been told, they would have been exposed to farms, seeing the production and seeing the kind of money that farmers have been making. And so to get them trained and prepare them for the next generation of farmers. In fact, I to myself, when I joined the banana industry, I became an extension officer. But not only that, I see what the farmers were making. By teaching them what to do and to improve their, I wanted to make an example of it. So I myself I used myself as a model farmer. So I could show farmers what to do. And I became a successful banana grower. I stayed 21 years in the banana industry, but I also did 10 years of practical farming. I sold bananas to the UK. My number was C5595-1N. The C stands for coffee. The 5595 is my number, and the -1N stand for the Kaum district. But that was also my traceability number. So should I produce some bad quality that will be traceable from the market to back to Dominica and say, look, coffee, you need to correct XYZ. That's how we used to do things. So we really need to get back to these days where we have farmers training. And that's why the question about the agricultural field schools would be applicable in that sense because it meshes with what exactly is being written here, though. Yes, Doc, you with us?
Yes, I'm still here. I'm here with you. Certainly. I mean, these are some of the creative ideas that we want to look at, because at the end of the day, we are going back, if you like, going back to basics, going back to the fundamentals of our economy, which is our agriculture sector. And don't let anybody fool you, so to say that the young people are not interested in agriculture. I
Yeah.
remember at the height of the banana industry, guys were leaving teaching, or leaving the police force and going into minors, because whereas they would probably make $2,000 a month, they could go into farming, into banana farming, and they were making $4,000 every week. So it was a no-brainer. I know persons individually or personally who left to go back into agriculture. So as long as the opportunities are there, as long as there is a chance to make money and to earn wealth, you will find people putting the effort and the energies into it. And that is what we need, because what we're talking about so is a fundamental change in our approach towards young people, a fundamental change in the opportunities that are granted to our young people, and an absolutely fundamental change in ensuring that this country of ours move forward. Because when our young people become energized, when our young people know that they can make money, they can earn wealth, and I make no apologies about that. I make no apologies in helping our young people earn money and to make money the right way. We are prepared to spare that and to lead that effort so that people can create wealth under a United Workers' Party Team Dominica government. When people are so energized, you will find them getting to a point where it's about country, it's about putting in the effort, it's about making the sacrifices, and it's about committing themselves to working hard. And so that is what we need. We need to change that around completely from where we are now, where what we're seeing is a lot of young persons who are idle, a lot of young persons who have lost hope and just dreaming to leave Dominica at the first opportunity. We are going to change that. We are going to change that in a way that will allow these young people now to be creative, to be dreaming up new businesses, creating new opportunities, and helping drive this country's growth and development forward. In other words, we are depending upon the young people of Dominica to be the drivers of this new thrust, to be the drivers of this new growth, this new development that we aspire to in Dominica under a United Workers' Party Team Dominica government.
Yes, and it's interesting because earlier on you talk about the financial services sector. That is the sector we believe that, or the services sector where we believe that opportunities can be created for our young people. And we don't want to drift too far from that. We know that's one option. But I really want to get back to the agricultural aspect part of it because just some time ago I was engaged with discussions with some young persons on the block. And they talk about yes, so we talk about agriculture, but where the lands? And I was saying, look, you're what we are proposing, and not because they ask a question that I responded. I mean, it's genuine because the government listens to us, but sometimes does rush to put things. They say about having lands allocated to young people. They're going to budget and put lands allocated to young people, but with nothing. But yeah, we had the approach, doc, and I know you have alluded to that in some of our town hall meetings. We're talking about allocating lands to young persons, not just allocating lands, but ensuring that the infrastructure, the necessary infrastructure, will be available on those lands too. We're talking about farm sheds, we're talking about good access roads, we're talking about irrigation where necessary, we're talking about drainage where necessary, we're talking about solar panel development for that for the farm, and we're talking about a holistic approach to leasing those lands. So when you lease these lands, you know that the lands have all the attributes. First of all, you can zone the lands, make sure the lands have all the attributes. You can even put buffer zones, you can create windbreaks, you can do all sort of things. And to ensure that when young persons are given those lands to work, that when they are given their targets, that they can meet those targets without excuses. Because it doesn't make sense putting somebody in a waterlogged area to work and expect them to get results. If you identify an area that might be prone to being waterlogging, I think the best thing to do is to drain it. If you identify areas that are prone to drought or experiencing drought periods, you know for sure that you have to make sure that irrigation is available. So all of this infrastructure will allow them not to fail. And so that is the way we want to do it. So when they are given targets to meet, to sustain volumes, to make sure that they can fully market requirement, that is where we go in this. That is where the discussion is going. Not just putting them down in a budget and saying we're going to let land be allocated in Kayembuk, in Layo Valley, in Niba area, in Kahom, maybe in Brush Number One, Salisbury Heights. No, that's not the approach. So, Doc, we need to take a holistic approach to this thing. And I know that the financial sector or the services sector is growing worldwide. And I believe our young people, because they are computer savvy, they are into ICT, information communications and technology, they involved in this. And the digital knowledge that is talking about, the knowledge base or the knowledge digital know-how of our people. We look at more people, even so, while some people practically will be working on the farms, but you need people to collect data through digital gadgets to know exactly, to do forecasting, to actually gather information so that they can actually look at market dynamics, what happened in the market, what is required, and to go out and actually, you know, record when XYZ is going to be ready. So we know that we can focus that. We'll have dashings for a good period of time. We'll have carrots for a good period of time. So we know how to deploy these things and to target the necessary market to sustain the market. So this is a combination of when you're talking about knowledge-based industry and you're talking about the practical aspect of agriculture. So that was how we're going to marry these things. So it's not about just letting farmers work, but it's actually getting data to guide us as to what is available, and the shortfalls will have to do some more work with respect to expanding, with respect to replanting and expanding acreages so that we can sustain the volumes that is required for the market. Well, so often, Doc, and you know that, you've been an economist, you know, one of the things that can kill a market quickly is when when the people who actually the buyers cannot get the full consignment of what they purchase. And I know you'll be in agreement with this.
Yes, absolutely. Being able to sustain that effort. And not only that, and you make a very useful point. Some of the young persons may not be interested in going to work the land. I mean, for me, I grew up in it and I love it. Even now, I do it. I love the idea of just being in the soil. Some young people are not like that because they never were raised in having to get into agriculture, but they can be supportive of the sector. They can be the ones that, as I said, setting up their small businesses that can create support services to the farmers by getting the data, providing the advice, and so on. So there are avenues and ways in which we can tie the agriculture sector with our services, with our IT sector. There are lots of examples of that and opportunities that can be created that way. And that these same young people now, they can be creative in terms of finding new markets, accessing what the market wants, putting the farmer in touch with the market, making that seamless link. So there are lots of things that can be done in support of the agriculture sector without they themselves necessarily being the ones to go in and work the land. And that is something that again we have to look at, because as we go into agriculture, we may have to keep importing labor. But I tell people, Florida has a huge agriculture market or sector. A lot of the workers are imported. Our own workers live here and go to Canada every year to work. The workers are imported. So there is a way in which you can organize labor to meet whatever demand needs are there. So I'm not too worried about that. But what I would like to assure the young people about is that as we seek to develop those various sectors of the economy, we want their input, we want their involvement. And importantly, we want their involvement with the creativity, with the energy that they bring, and with the youthfulness. That is critically important because they're the ones that will drive this innovation. They're the ones that will, become the managers and the entrepreneurs and the business owners in the future. And we want them to get the start on the uh, our government. And so, the opportunities are endless as far as the been able to create those efforts. And you talked earlier about the government rushing to institute things that we have been talking about. And a good example of that is the minimum wage. We spoke recently about the minimum wage, and the government went to parliament quickly, and they said, "Oh, we are not prepared. We have to probably raise it a bit more." you know,
That's laughable.
without doing the basic work. They said, "Oh, we did all of this work. We had this big committee that was looking at that looked at regional comparisons, blah 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 blah." But at the end of the day, you realize that they were not prepared for it because they don't know how to do it, how to unfold it. So in the same thing, if as we talk about the young people and the focus, you're going to hear initiatives that are targeted towards the young people. But we already occupying the space. So, and I believe that the young people at the end of the day will look at the track record of this government of 25 years and look at again against that 25 years compared to our own 5 years in government and see that it is night and day, that there's just no comparison with respect to this current government and their involvement and support to the young people compared to what we have done and what we are promising to do to take this country forward.
Yes, yeah, well said. And well, not to say into the idea, my apologies again for not being able to join the panel tonight, gentlemen. And he was supposed to have been with us, but sometime again he will join. But so far his contribution has been coming from this end, and he's actually participating. They're participating, we accept the apology. Yes, so Doc, it's an interesting point that you've made. And therefore, what you're saying is that one sector cannot go without the other, and there should be sort of marriage between probably agriculture and tourism, obviously, agriculture and agro processing. These are the things that we're doing, but we need to ensure that our people, human resource base of our country, is enhanced, well trained, have the desired skill to do what we have to do, so that when you marry all of these things, we'll get it. Because the absence of one doesn't bring to the other. You have to have a collaboration. You have to integrate the various sectors so that we get that kind of result. And so I'm happy that the perspective that we are sharing with respect to shared prosperity takes into account those who are actually getting themselves academically inclined, those who are actually getting themselves equipped with a skill set, and those obviously who are intended to do the investment, and those who are intended to actually control or run a farm, manage a farm, or some sort of business enterprise. So holistically, we're talking about an integration sort of approach to our development as opposed to a single way out.
Indeed, indeed. And when you think about the fact that if you look at our current national employment program, you have a ready supply of young people. And we have talked at length about how we're going to change into a youth empowerment, a youth skills training program that will allow us to get the young people and train them, whether it means through vocational training or skills training or even formal training. And one of the things that will be key to the success of all of this is the whole training education component. So even when we select people to go overseas to school, it will be into certain areas that will become beneficial to us. So we're looking to train our young people in IT, in artificial intelligence. We're looking to train our young people in renewable energy management. We're looking to train our young people in entrepreneurship, in business development. These are some of the critical areas that we'll be focused on in helping the young people to find the training, because these are the persons that once we train them in those opportunities or in those areas, will be able to come back and employ their skills, because that's what we want. We want innovators. We want persons who can start up small businesses. And so we'll be creating that environment for them. So training is one aspect, and that we can do even with respect to the persons within the national employment program. That's one aspect of it. The other aspect is to create the funding that is necessary. So what we plan to do as a government is to have a small business development unit that will be able to create opportunities or the funding for the various opportunities that these young people are creating. Whether we do it through a challenge, as was proposed by NEP, or we do it through grant or loan funding, the important thing is that as a government, we get those resources, channel it through a very transparent, and I want to stress that because we've had efforts by this government at small business development, and at the end of the day, monies were going to persons who just took it and went overseas or went to shop in St. Martin and so on. We don't want that. We want to ensure that the monies go towards some type of business in support of the various sectors of the economy that we are pushing. And so, it's a very exciting when I think when we think of this, and when as we sit, as we plan, as we determine the way forward for young people, it is very exciting to me personally because you look at the options, you look at the possibilities that our young people will have to make money in this country, the opportunity that our young people will have to get the training that they need, the support that they need to train them, and then they can contribute. It's a very exciting time. So we are setting this up. We are setting up our country in a way that we provide these opportunities to young people. We keep them in Dominica, but above that, we attract those Dominicans who are overseas and who want to come back to contribute to Dominica. They too will have that opportunity. So it's a very exciting time, and it's something that I hope the people of Dominica will support and and the way they can support it is to give us that opportunity to be in government. All of those ideas that we have, all of this planning that we have undertaken will be of no use if we're not in a position to implement it through a government. And so that is what becomes critically important.
Yes, and here we have another contribution from Nip Packet again. He says, when we think of farming, we often picture planting and harvesting. But modern agriculture is so much more, and this is where our young people can lead, not just as farmers, but as the builders of support industries that make farming smarter and more sustainable. Just imagine a 19-year-old drone operator in Marigot, a 21-year-old packaging designer in Roseau, and a 23-year-old solar technician in Grand Bay, all working alongside farmers to boost production, cut costs, and expand markets. Beautiful idea again.
This is exciting. You get the drift, and I think that's exactly where we are. I think exactly where we are headed. Linking all of this and the support that the creativity that we speak about, the support that we speak about, and what is needed there is just to provide this guidance, provide those opportunities, and so that is what we plan to do. Once we have a well-structured agriculture, manufacturing industry, once we have those going, we can structure those. These are where we're going to find the opportunities for our young people. And
Yes,
that's another excellent example that Ned spoke about. So
yes.
when we think of going back into agriculture in a big way, I do not want the young people to restrict themselves to thinking, well, it's just about going back
And
to
plant
get
and harvest.
to plant and to get bitten by red ants and so on and drenched in the rain. No, it's more than that. They will have options. They will have options, what we call options to opportunity, which will allow them to be able to do those things in support of those industries that we want to bring back on stream in a big way.
Yes, Doc. And something came to mind, because oftentimes our government, they have been emphasizing on diplomatic relations with other countries. But you've never heard them speak of trade relations where they could make opportunities or use the opportunity while we establish diplomatic relations to establish stronger trade relations where Dominica and Dominicans can work hard and to produce and to sell to the various markets where we have established diplomatic relations. And here it is that a question coming from a young person that states, yes, the program is exciting. I love the program. But what about when we get into agriculture and ready to sell? And there's excess. We cannot even sell. Right now, as when I look, I go to the market and sometimes I see people struggling to sell. How are we going to ensure that we sell? We sell because we can go to plant. We are ready to work. But selling the markets, how important that is. And just as I was thinking about establishing trade relations, here is that question coming up. What are they going to do when they get into we get ready to work? Young people are ready to work. But these questions come up because They too want to ensure that the investment doesn't go to waste. And you have been talking about boosting the water industry with respect to production, talking about adding value where we went into agro processing. These are the things that we need to do and to get out. Antigua was boasting the other day how they're making banana chips. Antigua they're planting one banana tree, not one planting tree, but they're able to get chips on the market and boasting that and selling it to Dubai and other places all across the globe. So yeah, it's a very important question.
Yes, indeed. And I want to respond to that because that's one of the shortcomings of this current regime in the sense that they've never really paid attention to an agro processing aspect of agriculture. So that if you can sell all of your dashin, the rest falls on you. If you can sell all of your avocado, it it rots. We want to ensure that as we develop our agriculture sector, our agro processing industry goes line in line. So a lot of those excesses will be taken up. Plantain is a perfect example. Why should we only be selling plantains for $5 a hand of plantain and hoping that all of the plantain we have now that the farmers have so diligently produced will be taken up in a population the size of 60,000 people? It is not going to happen. You need to have additional facilities set up, agro-processing facilities set up that the farmer can either take it to the plant or the factory comes and picks up and pays the farmer. You need that as a critical aspect of whatever planning that you undertake. And so I want to assure this person that you're looking at all of those aspects of it, how you deal with the excess. That's very, very important because as you go into agriculture in a big way, you're going to be having improved and increased yields, increased levels of production. You want to ensure that these amounts are not wasted. And the way you guarantee that is to process these things into flour, into macaroni, into everything else that can be done out of the excess of those that will be producing. So you
Yes.
you go into a juicing factory and so on. And so we are thinking about this. We are planning towards this because it's important to do this right. But once it is done right, you will see the end results because you will have a flourishing agriculture sector that's linked to a flourishing manufacturing sector that is linked to a lot of young people making a lot of money in those sectors or linked
Yes.
to those or businesses linked to those sectors and industries.
And that's a fact. Imagine that let's say someone decides to get into, let's say, the production of, let's say, plantain chips or banana or even tanya or whatever. You can imagine someone on his computer who has nothing to really do with the production is indirectly setting up the barcode, is indirectly organizing and designing the label. Someone may have a job now to do the procurement of the material needed to package. And so these areas actually create a kind of an expanse of opportunities for young people to get involved. So they can be in service, if not actually in the production of it. They can be in some other area where actually they can actually be connected with that commodity or that enterprise. So it's not nothing like us divorcing anything. It's integration time. But one person is saying there, gentlemen, in your next program, look at tourism and the effects of the increase in site pass fees to visit eco sites. It was proposed in the 2025-2026 budget. I believe it's a good suggestion, and yes, we will do it. And Doc, that was what was said by this scholar or this texter or this
Yes,
participant.
certainly something we can look at, and we have to look at the tourism industry. So we'll include all of those ideas or suggestions as to specific areas to focus on. But the tourism industry is another big part of our 10 pillars. It's one of the 10 pillars, ecotourism. So we'll definitely be addressing that in the future podcast. But even as we discuss this, even as we have been talking about what we plan to do for youth retention and the creation of opportunities. I think it's important for us to stress that we need the support of the young people.
Oh
I will
yes.
tell you, I will tell you yesterday, I went to play some cricket yesterday and I met some persons for the first time. And one of the young men was saying, I was disappointed because he was a young man, 30 years old, and he was furious. He was saying, well, whom, if we don't have this government, who else? Who else? There's nobody else, that we can have to run this government except what we have currently. And I'm saying that this is a young man who obviously all he knows is the Labour Party, but he's talking about there is nobody else. I mean, how can you say that there is nobody else when the country was running before this Labour Party government? You had governments before. There will be governments after this Labour Party government. But to say that somehow that the only person that can do this is this government, I think is so wrong-headed. And he was a young person, about 30, 31 years old. And I felt bad. I felt sorry for this young man because I'm saying I'm sure I don't ask him of his own personal circumstance, but I was kind of extrapolating from him and thinking of all of the young people who have not gotten opportunities under this government. Probably he has a job. I don't know. I did not ask him. But what about the scores of young people who just left school this past June and who still can find opportunities? What about the countless hundreds of our young people who are looking for the exit? So I think it is very unfair when a young person can be looking at it in such a narrow instance to say, well, there is nobody else, there's nothing else that can work. Here it is, we are putting forward ideas. Here it is, we are showing that we are thinking consciously about how we can better the living standards of the young people. Here it is, we are telling how it is that as a government, we'll be able to help create wealth and to help our young people establish themselves and create better futures for themselves and the families. And you're saying that there is nobody else. It makes no sense to me, but that's what we're up against. And that's the reason why we want to appeal to the young persons who are looking at us on their gadgets. Let me assure the young people of Dominica that there is hope under a United Workers' Party Team Dominica government, that we are interested in keeping them in Dominica to help build. We value their input. We value their creativity. We value their youthfulness. We value what they will bring to the table in helping us realize our dream of growing this economy by between 6 to 10% every year. The young people have a vital and critical role to play in all of this. And so our appeal tonight is to the young people of Dominica to throw their support behind the United Workers' Party Team Dominica, because we do have a plan for you. We do have the plan to create those opportunities in IT, in the knowledge industry, in renewable energies, in our traditional sectors, tourism, agriculture, agro-processing, manufacturing, that we have those opportunities. And we are committed to creating jobs in those opportunities that will allow you to once again be aware that the dream of the young people of this country has been dashed, their hopes have been sown asunder, but we can, as a government, restore those dreams, restore those hopes. And we will do that by creating the opportunities to allow you to earn, to allow you to make money. If you do not have the training, to get the requisite training. If you have the training, to be able to employ you where you are most valued and where you're most needed. We have a master plan for the young people of this country, but we cannot get any of this done without your support. And that's the reason why we are saying when we have elections, when next the elections are held, we are appealing to the young people of Dominica to throw their support totally and completely behind the United Workers' Party Team Dominica.
Well, yes, the appeal has been made. I think a lot of young people are hearing you. Many of them have heard this before, that they need to participate to get the change, the desired change. They need to participate to get registered and to ensure that they lead the cause in getting things going again. One person is saying that is why we have to go to meet them at their homes and talk to them. We have to go to church to meet them, at funerals, at parties. Go where they go. We have to go where they go to meet them one on one, meet them in groups, meet them, just go and meet them, just go and meet them. We need to. And I mean, That is the way it's going to happen because it cannot be done in isolation. Or it cannot be done, we're talking on, let's say, social media, on radio, on television, and we're not going on the ground to meet them. I know, Doc, a lot of this work. I know you're doing a lot of this work, and other members of our party are involved.
That's why I was out playing cricket yesterday. That's why I met them, the young people.
Exactly. Imagine you're playing cricket and you're involved in a discussion. But the young man who really think who is led to believe that this government alone can do it. The young man forgot before he was born that this country was governed before during his parents. This party has been governed before by other regimes. This party, this country has been governed with a party right now while he is there, and this country will be governed with another government while he is there. So, young man, rest assured that regime change is not uncommon in this country. We have had change of government, but you need to see something different. And obviously, we are the true and viable alternative to all of this. And when the United Workers' Party will assume the reins of government, you will then come back to Dr. Thomson Fontaine and say to him, Doc, I'm sorry, I just was too short-sighted to know that something better was alive and well. But Doc, I know the program again is running time. It's never on our side. It's never on our side. We're always battling for time. I know that we want to bring on the curtains tonight, but I know for those who are hearing you, and remember, you have to address the whole situation of the dire strait we are in because of the bad economic situation. A number of young persons, they have been imprisoned for probably, minor offenses, and probably they don't even belong in prison. I mean, would you advocate that some prison program should be going on so that prepare these people for the world of work because they need to have a different view of life, not just doing, criminal activity or being involved in criminal activity, but they need to see a vision where they themselves can reform and get themselves back into society where they can contribute to the country. While they work, they pay their taxes and they themselves can enjoy a better quality of life. And as we say that, let's do a final roundup because we're already out of time. But what would you like to say?
Yes, indeed. Certainly we are not forgetting those who are less fortunate. A lot of these young men are where they are because of frustration, because of the same, they cannot find jobs, they cannot find opportunities, and so they use their energies that should have been channeled towards productive means, they use it elsewhere. And some of them, their minds give way and they can cope. And so you must have a good social program that will be able to take care of these individuals, but more importantly, to help create opportunities for them or avenues. And that is where your skills training, that is where, as you build up an economy and you need more persons to work and to support that effort, that they become a useful part of those efforts. The important thing is to ensure that you provide where mental health resources are required, that is provided, but you want to move them out of that atmosphere to an area of work, an area of creativity. And we believe very strongly that if these individuals are so focused, then they have less time for mischief, less time for being harmful to their own selves. And that is how you counter this very, very disturbing trend that we're seeing right now in Dominica. It has everything to do with the lack of opportunities. It has everything to do with frustrations that the young people are going through. And some of them simply cannot handle it. And so if you create the opportunity, if you make it better and easier for them, then you'll see a lot of those issues going away because persons will become fully employed, gain fully engaged, in ensuring that they can build better futures. So I'm very excited about what the future holds. We have been working on this, all of our lives, so preparing us for a time like this. We have the expertise within the United Workers' Party team, Dominica, that can devote itself. And we can see already, even if we are not in government, we are thinking about those things. We are planning around those things. We are strategizing. We are doing what is necessary to get opportunities, to create opportunities. So we know what we're about, and so we wanted the public to understand that we have a plan for them, a plan that will work, a plan that will make them better, a plan that will make this country better, a plan to create wealth, in particular for the young people. I'm not saying that the older generation will not benefit. But we are saying that we'll put a very heavy focus on our youth, on our young people, to create those opportunities for them. We have the ability, we have the will to do it, and we will get it done because we believe that this is the only way to which we can ensure that this country grows, that the level of wealth, the level of economic growth that we want to achieve can be had, is if we harness all of our resources. And a key part of that are the young people of this country. And so it's a very exciting time, as we wait for the bell to ring, as we prepare ourselves politically for that time. But let me again, even as we round up, just encourage persons who are listening to us to provide any support that they can through uwp-dominica.com. Click on donation, whatever donation you can give to help in support of the work that we're engaged in would be absolutely welcome. So that's uwp-dominica.com, and you click on donation. So thanks again, guys, for listening. Thanks for your comments in the comment box. Thanks for those of you who lined up with us every Monday night. That's our 9th program it is.
Oh, 9th edition, yes.
All right, 9th week already. So we are moving ahead with a lot of positivity, a lot of great ideas, a lot of good things for people to hang on to. And I was very happy because I can't remember what village it was, and I saw a young boy. He was not even registered as yet. He's at the state college.
Yeah.
And when I asked him, "Do you know who I am?" He says, "Yes, I know." He said, "How?" I asked him, "How do I know you?" He says, "Well, I've seen you on Real Talk. I've seen you." So I was like, "Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Well, that's good. So he knew of me even before having met me, and he's a young man. And we talked about him getting registered and so on, and showing that change happens. So it's good that the young people are listening. They're excited for that medium in particular, social media effort that we're engaged in. They can find us on TikTok, on Instagram, and different areas. We are very happy about that, and so we continue to push and to encourage our young people in particular to support that effort.
Well, Doug, let me say thanks to you. It was nice having you. We just heard from our esteemed political leader, Dr. Thomson Fontaine, world-renowned economist, the man with the United Workers' Party Team Dominica plan in his hands, ready to lead and to resuscitate this economy so that every Dominican can benefit from it. Let me thank all those who have participated, asked questions, and contributed to the program tonight. So until next time, we say, God's bless, God's guidance. Hasta la próxima semana. Until next week. Doc, thanks again for the effort, and thanks to everyone. Have a good night. May God bless.
All right. Good night, all. God bless.